That's right, guys. A Golf 1.9 TDI. Much better than the later 2-litre engine that VW brought out. This one's far more economical, and that's the important thing here, because I plan to hypermile this car down to the Italian border on one tank of fuel. So, a couple of things about this particular car. I bought it especially for this little hypermiling exercise. It cost me £425. 400 if you count the fact that it already had £25 worth of diesel in it. And as I said, it's the 1.9 TDI. This is the poverty model. It's got 103 brake horsepower. And it's also got 185,000 miles. That is 300 for those of you, 300 kilometres for those of you in metric land, which I think you'll agree is quite leggy. Obviously I'm taking a slight risk here because driving this nearly 1,000 miles down to Italy on such an old leggy car is a bit of a gamble, but you know, that's all part of the fun. Now, several people have done these hypermiling videos and they generally tend to use VW Passats, and there's a good reason for that. The Passat has got a truly massive fuel tank. I think nearly 17 gallons, not sure that is in litres. This, on the other hand, you can only get 12.5 gallons in it. So the stats for this car are 12.5 gallons fuel tank capacity, 55 miles to the gallon combined, and a range of 560, I believe it is. Which obviously means I'm going to have to do a lot better than that, because from Calais to the Italian border where I intend to go is nearly 800 miles. So I'm going to have to be getting around about 65 to the gallon out of it. I also reckon you could probably get a little bit more than the 12.5 gallons, they say, probably 13. But we'll see. I'm going to take it to the fuel station in a minute and fill it up. So I'm off now to the petrol station to fill her up, and I'll see just how many litres I can actually get into her. At the moment, it's on the fuel tank, it's saying just under a quarter of a tank. I don't know how much that is in litres that's actually in there, but we'll see what we can get in it at the fuel station. That'll give us an idea of how likely I am to achieve this little challenge. Right, well, that's 47.3 litres I got in there, and I really did brim it. As I said, it was just below quarter, so I don't know how many litres are already in it, but I reckon there's probably about 60 in there. I don't know, I'd make a guess at. So, we're going to have to do some maths in a little bit and work out what I've got to get per litre or gallon to make it to Genoa. There's one other thing I want to mention is I'm really not a big fan of brimming my cars. I only usually put about £20-30 worth in because the last time I brimmed a car I wrote it off 10 minutes later, which is very annoying. So that fill up that just occurred at Ashford. We've now got 20 miles to drive to get to Dover, so the trip computer has been set. In fact, I shall set it now. There you go, it's been zeroed, and we're going to see just how far I can get on, I think, about 60 litres of fuel, so about 12.5 gallons, maybe 13.
I've made it to Dover, done my first 20 miles after filling up. Obviously the gauge hasn't moved yet. I'll have to see how far we get before it does move. No, it's about 5 o'clock in the evening. I've got an earlier ferry, which I'm quite happy about, and I'll be doing a fairly big stint tonight. Driving in the dark isn't the greatest, because obviously you have to put your headlights on, and that affects your mileage, actually, believe it or not. I'll explain that one later. But I do want to get past Paris at night time when there's not so much traffic, because that affects your hypermiling as well, sat in traffic. In fact, it completely ruins it. So I hope to get about 100 miles past Paris tonight, but I'll probably provide another post in the morning. I don't think I'll be doing any filming from here on in. It'll be too dark. Au revoir, Angleterre. Bonjour, France. I'm in France. In Calais, in the fortress that is Calais. Look at it. Well, now the journey begins. The A16 heading to Paris. Right, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, French time, and I've done just shy of 300 miles today. I'm pretty knackered because I had an absolute nightmare driving around Paris. I couldn't get any signal on my phone, so my sat-nav wasn't working, and I thought not being able to get a signal was a uniquely British thing, but seemingly not. So I got a bit lost. I don't know, come back here live. Farted about. I was taking the A16 down into Paris, and it just suddenly disappeared. Just turned into a load of funny little roads, and I got rather lost, and I think went 20 miles out of my way. In the end, I had written some notes beforehand. Here they are. Right. And these proved to be my salvation. I eventually managed to get on a road into Paris and then back out. So I'm now 50 miles south of Paris in one of these aired whatevers, like they're like little service stations, but they're more like picnic areas. It's a very good thing about French motorways. And they're not pissy about how long you stay here for. You don't get fined if you're over 2 hours. So I'm going to camp up here tonight in the back of the car. Got a mattress, and I'll update you on fuel and progress in the morning. Good night. Do you feel I need to get this? Although it's 2:30 in the morning, there's a load of guys parked up outside their camper vans over there, just having a few drinks, enjoying the ambiance. That's what I do like the French for that. Good morning. Had a good night's sleep in the car, probably a bit too good. I overslept slightly, so I've gone 11 o'clock now. and the weather's turned a bit shit. It's raining. So I'm going to head on down towards Lyon today. I did 290 miles yesterday, and the fuel gauge is just above 3/4. Assuming that the fuel gauge is calibrated accurately, and that means I have only used just under a quarter of a tank of fuel, that bodes pretty well. I should be able to manage 1,000 miles, but we all know that fuel gauges don't work like that, so we'll have to see. I'm going to be heading off to Lyon now on the A6, incur a few more of those pesky French motorway tolls. But first, I'm going to go make use of the toilet facilities that this lovely air provides.
So I was going to talk to you about my tips for hypermiling today, but you probably can't hear me over all the rain. So it's going to have to wait until the rain stops.
Well, the rain has eased off a little bit, so maybe you can hear me now. So let's talk a little bit about hypermiling and my tips for getting the best out of your car. So the first one is the car itself, prepping it. Now I've pumped the tyres on this car up to 38 psi, slightly above what they're meant to be, but tyres are rated to 50 psi. Having a high pressure on your tyres is far more beneficial to your economy than a lot of people think. If you're running your tyres at say 20%, you let them get a bit low, it's going to be knocking about 10-15% off your fuel economy. Secondly, no aircon. Not that it works in this car anyway, but no aircon, because that will knock about 10-15% off your economy as well. Try and use as few electrical things as possible. I saw some guy doing some hypermiling and he was saying turn the radio off, and it's like, no, the radio hardly uses any electricity. That's fine. Have some entertainment at the very least. The next one is motorways really are the best thing. One of the killers of economy is having to slow down and speed up, stop at traffic lights, roundabouts, what have you. That's what kills your economy. Being able to do a nice, steady, rather tedious 60 miles an hour is the way forward. One last thing, freewheeling. Some people frown at it, but personally, no, I think it's fine. If you really want to extract that last couple of mpgs out your car, freewheeling. So I'm about to approach a slight downhill incline on this motorway. If I take the car out of gear, it will roll down it for quite a long way. If I leave it in gear with the engine braking, it'll slow it down and I'll have to get back on the throttle again. So for me, freewheeling, good idea. If it's really steep incline, yeah, no, keep it in gear, but for shallow inclines, freewheel it. Unfortunately, my DJI Action 4 camera is packed up, so I'm using my phone now. So I keep this short. I'm 500 miles in, just short of a half a tank. Don't know if that's an actual half a tank, but we'll see in time. Anyway, I'm 20 miles north of Lyon. I'm hoping to get down to Grenoble tonight, so I'll make another video when I get there. Morning, it's now day 3 and I'm just south of Grenoble, and it's been a bit disappointing actually, because unfortunately my half tank of fuel has very quickly become just a quarter of a tank of fuel. I've only done another 110 miles and it's gone right down, so obviously that was not a very linear fuel gauge. I'm going to be driving up into the mountains to Gap today. So 610, I did 700 miles, maybe a bit more, but obviously driving in the mountains is pretty hard on fuel economy. So yeah, a bit disappointed, but I'll let you know when I've run out. Right, so I've just driven through Gap and I'm really quite low on fuel now. About 690 miles and I'm just touching the red. I'm going to drive a little bit further, but not much, because I'm going up in the mountains now and there aren't that many fuel stations. And I don't intend to run this car completely out of fuel, so just get to about the 700 mark and then I'm going to fill up. And so, ladies and gentlemen, does end my little exercise in hypermiling. It didn't go quite as well as I was hoping, simply because if you want a hypermile, don't go driving up into a mountain range. As you can see, I've got 700 miles, and as you can also see, I've still got quite a bit of fuel left in the car. It's not just hitting the red. Now, I think there's probably an extra couple of gallons in there, so if I was just cruising along a motorway, I reckon I could have made another 100. But I'm not cruising along a motorway. I'm here. Italy's 20 miles that way, up in the mountains, but it's the wilderness and there's no fuel stations, so I was totally unwilling to run the car out of fuel and get stuck up there. So, here is where the journey ends. Oh, what a beautiful place it is. I would like to say that I drove the car back down the mountain and took it a bit into the red and got another 50 miles out of it before I did actually fill up. So 750 miles I reckon. And I reckon I could have gone a bit further.